Welcome to Phonogenics 101, a Riotboy production hosted by Jeremy Gloff. The podcast where people who love music discuss albums track by track. Please hit subscribe, and if you'd like to support this podcast, patreon.com/Jeremy Gloff or Venmo @Jeremy Gloff. And now, on to the music. Hello, everybody. My name is Jeremy Gloff. Welcome to Phonogenics 101. We are here with the Fleetwood Mac family. This has been a damn series that has been going on season 1. Then it went on to season 2. Then we did season, like, this Fleetwood Mac series is just kind of like Fleetwood Mac. It just never stops. But we only have 2 episodes left, and we're wrapping up this one. So we're going to put a little bow on it and move on to the next thing. But anyway, tonight, it's 1974. Heroes are hard to find. We've gone through the discography all the way from Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac all the way through extended play. We did it kind of weird. We started with the White Album through Say You Will. That took 2 seasons. Then we went back to the beginning. But this season doing these early albums, this has been a highlight for me. So Heroes are hard to find. 1974. Was anybody a fan of Fleetwood Mac when this album came out, or was it okay? Tony, let's start off.
Oh, no, I'm just joking.
Oh, you're joking?
No, not even me.
John?
It was the first album that I've ever heard. I wasn't, my uncle had it and played it. And then when Rumors came out, I was little older, and it took me a while. We had the 8-track of Rumors and the White Album, and it took me a while to connect that Christine McVie was the same person as on the Crazy Naked album that we had. And so I didn't know that it was the same band until later on.
Okay.
So to say was a fan is a lie, but I liked the album. I remember going, my uncle liked it. I liked it.
When I started collecting the Fleetwood Mac early years, when I was like 8 or 9, my stepfather had this album in his record collection. Heroes Are Hard to Find. Like, he had bought it when it came out. So this album was their highest charting album in the United States, correct?
Easily, yeah.
Bermuda Triangle was played a lot on the local radio station up in Buffalo. So that was kind of like one of the hits.
Okay.
I feel like since Rumors or towards the 80s, some of those albums went platinum.
Right.
Not this one, though.
Bare Trees did, right? Yeah.
And Mr. To Me was 500. I didn't even look at the sales on this record.
It hasn't been certified, but I would assume it's probably close to 500K. There are certain albums that the RIAA certifies, the White Album, Rumors,
right,
a few others, but they oftentimes forgo certifications for the deeper catalog. Pretty sure bands and artists need to request for certifications, so it's not an automatic certification.
It's probably around 500,000.
Well,
I would think if it was 34,
Spent over 20 weeks on the charts too, for that matter.
Okay.
That would probably be sufficient.
Yeah.
Do you know where it peaked, Nick?
It was number 34. It had a pretty good ascension on the charts. Probably by its 7th week, it was already at 34. And it was pretty evident that it would perform pretty well just based on its chart trajectory. And then probably around October, November, it petered out and it really started to tank once the band stopped touring.
Right.
Go
ahead.
Stevie says that when they pulled up to meet them, they pulled up in a limo, and she was impressed by that. And I'm thinking, well, they had to have some money, from probably royalties from the British hits that they had, and then some sales from this, and touring money too.
Yeah, although by this time the receipts from each venue were decreasing, to my understanding, where it was only a couple $1,000s per show, whereas there were certain shows previously where they were getting maybe 3 times or 4 times as much money. And that was one of the reasons why Bob Welch was dismayed with the course of the band, among several other reasons, which we can get to later.
Right.
Money. Money primarily, and then just the legal woes that preceded it.
So I'm sure that anyone that's spending time watching this podcast probably already knows the story of the fake Fleetwood Mac. They know the story of how this is the first. They all moved to the United States. This is the first Fleetwood Mac album recorded in Los Angeles. So I feel like we don't have to touch on that too much because I'd be surprised if anyone watching this doesn't know all that already. Does anybody want to touch on it briefly, just so it's in here?
I got a good, I picked through articles and wrote like 2 paragraphs,
Okay, go
so
ahead.
I can do it right now. Yeah, released September 13th of 1974. Album released after the ugly lawsuit with manager Clifford Davis. Davis put a fake Fleetwood Mac out to finish the Mr. Mr. To Me. That tour was interrupted when Bob Weston had an affair with Mick's wife. Davis hired musicians to finish out the tour dates. During the court fight, the Fleetwood Mac was barred from performing while with an injunction, and an injunction was levied against Fleetwood Mac from recording. So they were pretty much bottled up, you know. And there's a story that they just dreaded going to the court and trying to get their name back. They were fighting for their name, and and it was ugly. And okay, Bob Wells persuaded Fleetwood Mac to move to L.A. and they signed a new deal with Warner. Despite the chaos, the album peaked at 34 on the Billboard charts. Heroes Hard to Find was released as a single but didn't chart. The band toured the album and finished at the record plant in Sausalito, California on December 15th, 1974 with a live recording. And someone's holding up a whole a vinyl of that. That's pretty hot. Okay. Soon after, Bob Wells quit, and just 2 weeks later, they hired Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks.
And the White Album came out in July 75, right? So there was only a 10. Think about like how fast 10 months go by. And that's how long there was between Heroes and White Album.
And the White Album was recorded several months before it was released.
Right.
It was actually recorded in March, I believe, February and March.
They just meshed really well right off the bat, and they had songs. I think Christine probably had to write a full new set, but Stevie had Landslide and Rhiannon written already, because Rhiannon was performed with Buckingham Nicks on the road, and those are great versions. Don't play too fast. Those are just terrific versions. So, yeah, that was crazy. That was just, I mean, it's just a Mick going into a grocery and meeting up with someone, pointing them to the Sound City, and there it is. The rest is history.
But I mean, in terms of Heroes, when they came to the U.S., they moved to L.A. and from what Mick says in his book, right, says that Bob was pretty pissed off because he was doing a lot of the management work, and then so John and Mick took over a lot of the management, and Bob knew a lot about copyright, and so that there was quite a bit of movement going on even before Buckingham and Nicks got into the picture. And you can hear the major feeling I get when I listen to this album against all the ones that preceded it is, even though I feel like there's some arrangement issues, it feels sophisticated in terms of its recording. Yeah. It feels like, they went into a proper studio. It sounds sophisticated. It sounds like they really were making a lot of they were making a new start with this album, even though it's the last that Bob did.
Right.
So I think it's got its value on its own, even before Lindsey and Stevie join.
All right. Any other thoughts about? Go ahead.
Yeah, I saw a clip of Bob Welch, at this period when he quit Fleetwood Mac, and he said he's just kind of made a quip that he was getting old. He was probably getting just worn out, because they were just they were tour a lot, and they would record within a year. a lot of their records, and good records too. It took a lot of structure to put them out instead of playing like a live bit. So Bob was kind of burnt out, and he probably saw the empty seats. That's understandable. So
wasn't there like some of the venues
got,
only a quarter full, right?
That's what Christine McVie remembered,
yeah.
And I think that was demonstrated with their tour receipts. Yes.
Yeah.
And I do have a quick revision. It was a good overview of the events that transpired, but to my understanding, I think the band could still technically record during the time the lawsuit was in place. They just couldn't release any music.
Okay.
They could record in the U.S. They could record in the U.S. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. That was part of the Warner deal.
All right. Well, any other thoughts about the lead up to this album? A lot of craziness.
Well, I got kind of, when I just picked this album up, another little paragraph.
Okay.
And I mainly bought this album as a curiosity because it was their last album before Lindsey and Stevie joined the band. At that time, I found the album a bit underwhelming because I didn't feel that the band didn't break much new ground on this album. I consider the songs a little thin and not overly remarkable. That's kind of my album review.
All right.
That's your album review?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think they just didn't have, I think that interruption from the lawsuit really took a lot of steam out of their creativity. I think bands love to just keep on, going forward and keep that momentum up, because that's why they're good, because they're just driven people. And once you take the drive out for a while, you just kind of end up a little like out of step.
Isn't there somebody on this
feel
panel?
differently about it? I feel like it's a really strong album.
Well, the production's really good. I
feel like the songs on paper are really strong. And in fact, I feel like they just sound exhausted. They sound a little tired because they themselves are tired, but in terms of the songwriting, I thought was pretty good.
Isn't this one of your favorite albums, Tony?
No, it's not, but it's I think the songs on paper are among my favorite.
Okay.
I just don't think some of the production choices and the arrangement choices.
Okay, I go with that too, yes.
I think the opening track is a perfect example of where you could complain about the arrangement. I'm not sure the horns, that it's a good idea, but I don't think the presentation of them is exactly what they were thinking. I don't think it came across as what they wanted. I think if you had more like a Phil Collins type of more snappy sort of horns, that's what I think that they were trying to do. But it's a little bit earlier. This is 10 years prior to when Phil Collins and Genesis tried to do it. But I just think that they were a little lame versus, especially for an opening song. But having said that, I still think Tony's right. It's such a great composition. It's a great song. She sings it well. I like, but it just leads off with a weird sort of production choice. And that's, before we get into the album, that's kind of where I would agree with you and Tony.
Going from that right into the second song, which is so strange, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like,
before we go too far, let's do the cover, you guys. Then we'll get into the songs, because I don't want to get too far ahead with the music. This album cover, what do you guys think of it?
It's rather bizarre, but
I think it's the worst album cover they have.
After Penguin and Mystery to Me, and then before that, Bear Trees and Future Games, this is the same photographer that did White Album and Rumors, right?
Right, correct.
I think
Worthington.
If it were two males, the gay community would love it.
Oh, this is a Fleetwood Mac or Village People album.
I think, again, it's another choice that's sort of out there, but it just doesn't come across as what I think, like sometimes Lindsey's like, I want to do this way out there song, and Tusk gets produced. So, I don't think it hit the mark of what they wanted to do.
I do like the font they used. Like, I feel like they were getting a little bit more modern with the font at the time.
I love the font on that album.
And then, of course,
I even love the back cover photograph.
That might have been a better front cover.
It could, yeah. Can you put that back up? Yeah. See, I love that's amazing. I love that picture.
Imagine that with the Heroes Are Hard to Find font. Like that is the front cover. Might have been a little bit more appealing than. Sorry, Mick.
I was debating on like I use that as a backdrop when I have an album. I'm going to just put the back up because this is a little there. And said, no, I'm going to try to keep the integrity of the podcast.
Oh, well,
I think
we lost our.
what makes the front cover so disturbing, in addition to his emaciated body, is in the little girl that's hanging from his daughter hanging from him, but it's the women's underwear. The whole thing is just really kind of strange. It's just a very weird.
I mean, it goes back, I guess, to like the Mr. Wonderful English Rose.
Well, that's what I think that they were trying to do. I think they were trying to assert their identity, and that this is part of their identity, but it doesn't really come off well.
And the thing about Fleetwood Mac is they all look like drag queens anyway.
Oh.
So for them to for them to keep insisting that they are, with Mick and John has dressed, they dressed in drag quite a few pictures. There's one of Mick where he's standing in the middle with a red one-piece dress, high heels, and Christine and Stevie are on either side of him. So I've seen Mick do drag quite a bit, but this is the start of this kind of weird British funky, we don't mind being naked or dressing like women and doing weird things.
Do you think when Stevie and Mick had their affair during Tusk, Stevie saw this album cover and she's like, I have to have this. All right.
Okay.
Heroes are hard to find. I disagree with you guys.
Well, I just wanted to say that to answer that is that Stevie said she listened to all the albums before she joined the band.
Front to back.
I'm sure she got to that one and said, oh my God, I love this song Coming Home.
Oh.
and the album.
All right. So I actually love the horns on Heroes Are Hard to Find. I feel like they're funky and tasty. It's not something you normally hear from Christy McVie. I saw this album before I heard it. So when I was a kid, I used to imagine what an album would sound like. I didn't expect Heroes Are Hard to Find to be a Christy McVie song, and I didn't expect it to have a horn section. So, I mean, Christy never did anything like that before or after, did she?
With the horn section, no. The closest analog I can come up with would be the steel drums she had on Did You Ever Love Me?
Right.
But in terms of horns, she largely stayed away from that.
I think there's some little horns on her first solo record that
there's orchestration on.
Oh yeah,
sure.
No road is the right road or whatever.
It's not really like way up in the mix. It's accents.
But guys,
I think it's there.
You guys, dude, with my window down, like the palm trees, like drinking my drink.
This
song
album for me was very strange because it was the first album I got. It was the pre-Buckingham Nicks era albums. And it's, in hindsight, Mystery to me sounds a lot more like 1975 Mac than this one does. This one there's a lot of things on here that are one-offs and very strange. And so when I heard it, it was just too weird for me, this album. And I remember that big kickoff with the drums and then the blare of the horns. And thinking, what the heck? At the same time, I remember hearing her voice and thinking she sounded fantastic.
It's so campy. So it's like I love it.
It's a real complex feeling I have about this because the song I think is really strong and it's a blues, kind of like Sugar Daddy. Yep. And it's just that it just has different arrangement choices.
I think some of that does come down to the fact that it's their first album with only one guitarist. So they're trying to find new musical voices, if you will, to supplant that. And in this case, you have horns. For She's Changing Me, Come a Little Bit Closer, you have strings. You have more emphasis on keyboards, too, in certain cases, too. You even have a vibraphone on one or two tracks. So the configuration of the lineup did, in a way, force them to experiment into different territory. Sure, they could have had Bob overdub some additional guitar parts, and that certainly did happen on occasion, but that did lend itself well to all of these cool arrangements, and there's a lot of experimentation. Some of it worked, and I don't think that they really had too many misses, maybe with the exception of one or two songs that I find to be a bit subpar.
Wouldn't you say though, because they recorded in LA, they probably had a lot more at their disposal than they did over in, the Benefolds or wherever the fuck they were.
They got rid of that Rolling Stone mobile unit. Yeah.
They
and
did,
then,
yes.
Which produced quite a few good albums.
Yes.
Yes, to be fair, yeah.
Are we talking about the first song now?
Yes, we're official. We're official.
Okay. I love this song. I know I'm going to complain about the horns, but I mean, they still work. I just think it could have been better. I think that's more where I'm coming from. But I'm surprised Nick likes this because it's got a beautiful, amazing piano shuffle underneath it. She's actually carrying quite a bit of the rhythm that I listen to right as I start listening to the song. My ears kick into that shuffling piano underneath.
Oh, yep.
And I just think she's probably one of the best rhythm, or I don't want to say the best rhythm piano player, my favorite rhythm piano player, as far as what she creates underneath and how she can branch out into, lead territory versus rhythm territory. And I think she's got such a range. It helps that she's left-handed because she really does have that, as she calls it, the boogie sort of hand. But if you listen to the piano on this, it's kind of another shuffle, like Get Like You Used to Be, not quite like that, and sort of Don't Stop-ish. There's a shuffle underneath it.
Thing is that the drums are playing more of a straight rhythm. You have the tambourine on the 16th notes. The feel is a little bit different from the two aforementioned songs, and it's not that I really dislike Don't Stop. Get Like You Used to Be, sure, I can do without that, but it is a bit funkified with the patterns, which I very much enjoyed. And that's also present with Bob Welch's guitar playing, which doesn't really have a very prominent role in this song. It's just there to play support. And the piano, if anything, is more in the forefront.
He's actually doing a lot underneath it.
He's doing a lot. It's just not mixed very high.
The guitar, it's very much like the guitar on Over My Head, except that Lindsay's is acoustic and this one's electric.
You see, I feel like Christine's piano on this was a lot like the original demo of Over My Head.
Yes, the bouncy kind of
so you can hear like the sister, like those two songs, and I love that version of Over My Head.
Are you talking about the demo that was released on the deluxe, the early version?
Yeah,
yes,
that's exactly what it is. And I think maybe only Over You or whatever that song is. She's got like a piano version of that too, where it's got that. It's almost like she uses that to write, where it's giving her rhythm.
And then Lindsay has a tendency to just scale all of Christine's keyboard parts down almost to the point where they're non-existent and replaces them with the guitars. Never Make Me Cry is a prime example of that, to the point where I don't think there are really any keyboards, whereas on the Tusk documentary, there's footage of her playing the keyboard on the boat and she's inebriated, but it's still a very heartfelt, good ballad. Certainly,
in the Tusk Deluxe, you can hear the piano.
Right.
Yes.
And that gorgeous early version.
There's a demo that was out before the Tusk documentary of Never Make Me Cry that had all kinds of piano on it. Not the one that you and I listen to on YouTube, Tony, but there's a different...
I know what you're talking about. The one that sounds like a Beach Boys song.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, why wasn't this used? But it wouldn't have fit on that album. I don't think
it wouldn't have fit the aesthetic of the rest of the album. Yeah. But Heroes, I think, is a great tune, and she's the B section. When he says hello, don't forget they're all the same, kind of thing.
Love that
whole section. Really clever. She's doing a lot with just very limited chords.
I love Bob's background vocals. I think the horns are really sassy. Like, I'm here for it.
Well, I think, she talked about this song after she came back in 2014. And she said, it was basically, I had a girlfriend back then that wasn't Stevie because they haven't met yet. And she was just like, I'm so sick of men and the way they treat me. And you very rarely heard her complain about men. But this was one time where she said, that it was just me talking to a girlfriend and I wrote everything I said down, something like, to that degree. It's how she got the lyrics.
Well, amen.
I never heard her talk about this song. That's awesome. Where did you?
I don't remember that.
It was on one of those when she came back in 2014, but before. I probably have this somewhere on my.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, send a link to the chat.
So it was all 5 of them were being interviewed, and even Lindsay had been kicked out, I think, already, but they still had him on there on the interview. So it was probably 2018.
18.
Yeah.
But I know I have this somewhere. I'll find it, Tony.
Cool. Well, any other thoughts on Heroes Are Hard to Find?
Yeah, so it was mentioned that this was the obligatory single, and as is the case with pretty much every single dating back to July Judy, maybe Rattlesnake Shake as well, it just wasn't able to get momentum. It feels like it's a staple of the Fleetwood Mac series for the early years of, oh, they released this song, it didn't chart, and then continue that for every single podcast. But I was looking at the release history, and whereas a lot of bands now, they release a single in advance of the album, Heroes Are Hard to Find was released quite a bit afterwards. So I saw some reviews from Billboard, Cashbox, and I think maybe Record World as well. They were reviewing the single in early December. That doesn't necessarily guarantee that it was released then, but if it was indeed released at that point, then by that time, Fleetwood Mac were pretty much already off the road. They were concluding their final few shows, and it would have been a bit of an odd choice for them to go down that route. And based on other sources I've seen, it does appear to be the case that it was released around that time.
So on that box set that Rhino released a few years ago, there is the single edit of Heroes. Is it much different than I have the CD, but I didn't pull it out for
a little shorter. That's all. It's a little shorter.
All right, Jim.
Yeah, I got my notes. The song has a lot of concepts of an accessible hit, but it just doesn't quite hit. The horn parts are okay, but are they even needed? I mean, could this have been a different structure without horns? I don't know. Christine's lyrics are cynical and jaded, but she definitely gets her point across. The quality of the band's playing is good as per usual. So I mean, what do you expect from the band? It's kind of an odd choice for the lead song. I don't know. I'm not a musician or anything, but I think it could have been fashioned in a way where it popped on the radio, but the next album did. So we were just getting that close.
Right.
Yeah,
I thought it was a great choice for a single.
Me too. Yeah. One of the better ones. I could have maybe thought of 1 or 2 others that could have been just as good, if not better. But of the 11 songs on this album, I didn't see any issue with releasing this.
The single was released in the United States in September 1974. However, it was released in the UK, get this, February 1975.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, they were still recording the White Album.
Yeah, it's weird.
Maybe they were trying to
maybe because it was they finally got allowed. They were finally allowed to release it in England.
Yeah. It was legal.
That's a good conclusion.
Which might be, Nick, maybe one of the sources you read was a British.
Well, Billboard, Cashbox, and Record World, those are American publications, and
yeah, I don't know.
Based on the reviews that I saw, they were talking about in December, and I think there may have been some airplay tabs that were showing that it got a couple plays here and there in that month as well.
I used to hear this song occasionally on our rock radio station, believe it or not, in the 80s.
Okay, wow.
Which is really weird.
It's because it's a banger.
I've heard I've heard it on Akron radio too, just like a pure rock station, not one of those like where they played Poison and Rat. And
no, like a rock, yeah.
Like it wasn't heavy metal. It was just pure rock, like Rush, Zeppelin, The Who, that kind of rock.
Yeah, WKRP rock.
All right. Well, any other thoughts on Heroes Are Hard to Find?
I love the drum break at the beginning. Mick does a couple of those on the album, and I love every single one of them.
Yeah,
he's so good during this time.
All right. Well, the second track.
Go ahead. I was about to say that it translates, especially during his tours for the White Album and Rumors, even the Tusk tour too, for that matter. That's when his playing was probably at its peak.
All right. Well, we are about to go into Bob Welsh land. Coming home. Uh, you have some instrumental, some tinkling on the piano, some reverb that sounds like it's from like Tame Impala was studying this album greatly. Uh,
The sound sounds like if you were in one of those hotels where they had 5 rooms of different bands playing, and you walked in from Heroes Are Hard to Find, and then you walked into another room and they were vamping some jazz, and that's what the sound sounds like to me. Is it Mick that's doing the talking voice, or is that Bob?
It's Bob.
So it's Bob Welch, yes.
I always thought it was Mick when I was a little kid, so I always wanted it to be Mick. Um, but I kind of like the I like the placement because it's like after Heroes Are Hard to Find, you're confused, and then they confuse you even more, and then I think Angel's actual fade in
Mhm.
when it gets to Angel. So I like the first 3 songs because it's completely different from Mystery to Me, and so it's like okay, another different flavor. You have Bear Trees, Future Games, Mystery to Me. Bob Welch's albums in his tenure, they're all different, and I love
yeah.
that. I
And
love that.
you're right. It's as jarring of a change as the ledge is to over and over, right? I
Definitely.
mean, it's just like, it's this kind of a,
Yeah.
it's, but I mean, I have to say, if you're going to ask me which of those 2 songs I like more, I think Coming Home is a better tune.
Yeah,
I mean, I've studied it, I've played it at home. It's got really good chords in it. It's got a good triplet figure.
Hmm.
It's actually cool. It's just it's bizarre. That's all. It's just the
if
the production choices are bizarre. His vocal is barely audible, but that seems to be on purpose.
Very
yeah.
future games.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you wish it was future games. It's
Yeah.
like you can barely hear it. I mean, it's like it's
And for anybody that smokes or has a couple glasses of wine and listens to this song, it feels good too. It feels good in the headphones. It feels good to put it in the car and drive, not with alcohol, of course. But I mean, these first 2 songs and they just feel good.
What's interesting is I feel like side 2 of the album has some more compact poppy kind of songs. And if they would have sequenced it different, like I always think of this as such a weird album, but I think it's because like side 1 of the album is such front loaded with the weird songs. Like if these songs would have been towards the tail end of side 2 with the more commercial stuff front loaded, we might have a totally different view of the album if there was like a sunnier cover than this weird dark cover. So it's interesting. I think the sequencing has a lot to do with how we feel about the album overall. Because this is the second song. Like any other band would put this like second to last on side 2.
Definitely.
So
Well, the next album was Warm Ways.
yeah,
the live. Any live music I've heard of this, plus the rare live shows that I've heard, plus the soundboards. Clearly, Bob loved the first 3 tunes.
hmm
You know what I mean? So in his head, I think Bob was thinking, "I'm going to front load it with the strongest tunes." You know?
Yeah, if you look at the
Um,
set list, pretty much the only songs that were played live were this one, Angel, and then Bermuda Triangle.
yeah,
I
the
don't
first
think
3.
that they really did any of Christine's songs actually from this.
Bad Loser's the only one they ever
Oh, that's
did.
right.
yeah.
Yep, yep.
And that's Smoking. That song's
Great
smoking.
version, yes.
Yeah.
All right, Jim. What are your notes on this one?
Yes, weird and inaudible lyrics at the front of this mainly instrumental dirge. I love Bob Welch's lead guitar parts, but I'm sorry, but did I say underwhelming? I mean, I think some of these ideas are kind of. I think a lot of this album is pulled. There's ideas poured pulled from Bare Trees and all the other previous stuff, and I just think there's just not any like groundbreaking ideas on this. I mean, it's a good record. Let's see. Oh, and I'm gonna kind of get myself out of the out of this. I know, and I think a lot of people and do love what the band is trying to do here on this album. I mean, I can envision of an 8-track in a convertible on the PCH in California and blaring this album, and it probably sounds great in that time period. I can envision that, and that's probably what a lot of people did in the in their convertible. They put the 8-track in and play this, and it's their soundtrack to where they're going.
Well, you have that picture of the band from this era with the 4 of them standing in front of the Hollywood sign. I feel like that really sums up this era more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a little bit of acid rock in there. I give you that, Jim. It's kind of psychedelic acid rock, but like Lindsay, like you think if that's what it is, or he thought that's what he was trying to do. But I think Bob came a little closer to it being like, because you had the acid rock back then. In that psychedelic, I think the Doors was like the popular version of it, but there was so much of that going on. Mm-hmm. I think they just wanted to have a song on there that had this sort of ingredients.
And it's really a cool, I mean, if you take the song and I would love, so you know how sometimes you like Camper Van Beethoven did Tusk? They did the whole album.
Love that. I was listening to that recently.
I would love to have a band, I would love to hear a band redo this complete album.
Yeah.
Because every one of these tunes, I think, is really hits on paper. And this, I really think this is a good tune. It's just, their approach to it was so bizarre.
It's open to a lot of interpretation, a lot of songs here.
Yeah. All right. Well, any other thoughts on Coming Home?
So when I listened to it first, I really enjoyed it, but I did find it to be an odd choice for the second track. Jeremy, you mentioned that most bands would place this, say, the second or third to last song. That was exactly my thought, and they took a big risk. In some ways, maybe it's a bit of a momentum killer, but the psychedelic atmospheric feel to the song lends itself well to Christine's playing. I love how she's pretty much just jumping all over the keys, and as opposed to blues playing, it's far more experimental in comparison to what we're accustomed to listening to her work.
Right.
And I love the very active bass line that John's playing. It's probably one of my favorite bass lines from him in all Fleetwood Mac's discography. And of course, I love the 12/8 time signature as well, with mixed drums really driving that. I think that it's a really cool package, and I wouldn't be surprised if this song was played around 1974 on a lot of progressive stations, because I'm pretty sure it did do very well in that format. Billboard had an FM action chart, which compiled a couple of reporting stations that identify it as progressive and underground. And I don't have the specific songs that were indeed played, but this would fit perfectly under that category quite a bit.
Yes, I'm going to interject a little bit. I was reading a little bit, and I think there was kind of like there was charts for pickups, like radio stations picking up songs or selections on an album. Mm-hmm. And this album they said it was like number one of ads. They call them ads,
right?
Add to the playlist. And this album was like number one week of ads to probably the progressive, deep track, album rock kind of stuff. So,
well, that was the case for progressive rock stations, not for contemporary hit music, or certainly not AM. It was definitely for FM stations.
College radio.
College and stoner radio.
Certainly, they fit perfectly into that category.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy it quite a bit, and I'll just reveal this now, in that I think that the 4 strongest tunes on this album are all from Christy McVie, but of the Bob Welch songs, I would probably put this pretty high up too.
Well, Bob thought a lot about it, and so did the band, because they opened their Wisconsin show with it.
It serves as a great set opener, but I don't think it works well for the second track. That's the thing.
But to open your show with it means you must really think it's something.
Right. I mean, they thought the same for Say You Love Me pretty much every other tour. And then they did a very atmospheric opening for the Behind the Mask tour with In the Back of My Mind, which I think is another close analog in terms of the spoken word, but not the second 2/3, I would say. It's mostly just the first 45 seconds that have the most similarities.
And I have kind of a joke about the Wisconsin that they open with this. I think the band stuck their nose out from the dressing room, and they smelt the marijuana and said, they're already sedated. We're just going to start with this. Let's go.
All right. Well, the next song No, we're not tracking a ghost through the fog quite yet. This is a different Angel. How many times did Fleetwood Mac have the same song title? There was Angel. Chrissy
Coming
McVie had
home.
Without You for Danny Kerwin's song, and then the Buckingham Nicks, well, the one that appeared on the EP.
right.
So
Okay.
those are the three examples that come to mind.
Too
Coming
Far
Home.
Gone. Oh, Coming Home.
Yeah, that was a Jeremy Spencer did that.
That's
Mhm.
right.
On the first album.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's yeah.
Too Far Gone from Christine Perfect and then Buckingham McVie.
I mean, they have Feel About You in the Way I Feel, not perfect examples, but they're close enough, I suppose.
Sarah and Welcome to the Room, Sarah.
Ooh.
All right.
Over and over and over my head.
Oh,
Over you.
Only Over You. Yeah.
Yes.
we're not even going to like the Street Angel, Sleeping Angel.
They have Doing What I Can. Stevie, I think, has a song with a similar title, and then Lindsay has that on Out of the Cradle too, right? Or am I
Yeah.
just imagining that?
I don't think Stevie does she. Doing the best I can.
Oh, Doing the Best
Doing What I
Can.
Can.
All right.
And
All right,
I
so
think it's Doing
Bob-
What I Can.
Oh, that's good. I really love.
Bob Welch's Angel. I love this song because it's a. I love this song because it's a fade in,
right.
and it was kind of cool. You know, they Over My Head I think is a fade in too.
Yep.
Coming out of Rhiannon, and I always love when you listen to an album back when you listen to albums or even a cassette where you just had to flip it over on one song, but the way that transitions it to Angel. And I just, Chrissy McVie really shines on this album. I don't know what, she just explodes with how prolific she is compared to Future Games, where she's got 2 songs. You don't know where you hear her.
Right.
I just think the organ, and then they played this live, that Record Plant version. It's so good live. I kind of almost wish, I'm glad Fleetwood Mac went on their path, but I wish this would have been recognized as brilliant, because they really, you listen to that show and they're so good. They were really good before Stevie and Lindsay.
Well, yeah.
And I love the fade in and then the fade out at the end, because this is one of those tunes that you could just imagine going on for 3 hours, right? It's just like, it's one of those, it's just a hypnotic tune. I think it's really I think it's really cool. And obviously it's dealing with disaffection, not, wanting to be somewhere else, needing something else. But it's just a really cool tune.
I feel like we could do a whole podcast on like Fleetwood Mac songs that fade in, because Honey High, I think of What a Shame from Future Games. And I mean, we could just go on
Believe
and on.
Me.
Believe Me. I actually I did an album, Road to Bartow, and there's a song on it, Meet in the Middle, where I faded in in tribute to Christy McVie. I'm like, I'm going to do a Christine fade in on my song.
Oh, Never Forget. That's another one.
Never Forget. Yep. Yeah, I like Angel. I think it's a strong song from Bob Welch. Jim, what are your notes?
Yes, this may be an example of what the band was going through at that time. There's a lot of uncertainty, and I think the band was recording a jam, and lyrics were thrown in later to pass as a song. This seemed like a full jam, and it probably could have been a longer jam, like an 8-minute jam, where they're just playing along, and it's just, to me, it seems like the lyrics were just kind of added later. I'd rather have lyrics first in songs, but this is an example where I think, I could be totally wrong, but I'm just thinking it was a jam and Bob added some lyrics to finish it out.
Well, to my understanding, this album was recorded probably over the course of a month or so, and that they wanted to get this out as soon as possible. It was July or August that they were finally able to record, and they got it out in September. So it was a quick turnaround time.
They probably had a jam, and they said, well, this bit of music might work on the album. And
I think it's a lot better of a song than that, personally. I agree with John that the live or the soundboard versions of it are just incredible. There are 2 of them, and both of them are far superior to the album.
okay.
The one thing I wish is that, in Mystery to Me, Christine's voice and backup, like her harmonies, vocals are everywhere.
Hmm.
Here, it's like they're so muted. They're there, but they're really muted. So it's like, like on Angel, I wish he was a little bit more present. And
Yeah,
I wish he
I,
was a little more present on Bermuda Triangle too. We'll get to that, but and for some reason in this album, she's just vocally not as in the mix.
Right. It's interesting. You think how prolific they were at this time because they had two albums out in 73, then this one in 74, then only 10 months later, the White Album. So they were coming out with a lot of music and all of it was really good.
And they probably would have had another album out too, probably in 1974 if they didn't have the lawsuit
The
bogging them
lawsuit.
down.
That's probably why there was such in a hurry to get this out because it was already like running
About
late.
11 or so months where they didn't have an album out or they weren't on the road. Sure. It
Any
certainly makes
other
sense.
any other thoughts on Angel?
yeah, well, maybe there was not a lot of post production time if they recorded this so quickly, and maybe
Yeah.
that's why she didn't get to put more vocals on it. But yeah, I didn't think about that she didn't have as many backing vocals. His too are a little muted sometimes. It's like you do hear him on "Heroes Are Hard to Find" as backup, but it's like
Barely.
I do like when she finally joins him. Ooh, I want to see you, Angel, and
Yeah.
the very
Okay,
end when she
right,
joins in, it's like, oh my god, that feels so good, and they only do it like a couple times.
Yeah.
At the very last stanza of or the very last line of a stanza, they end up singing the together, and it sounds really good.
Well, I think when Bob Weston and Dave Walker were at the bar, Christine's like, "Well, we better have something to do." So that's when she put all her background vocals on. So on this album, we didn't have the boys at the bar. Any other thoughts on Angel?
Do like the percussion quite a bit. From what I can hear, there are some claves, hand drums that are probably conga drums. Another wonderful performance from Mick, and they were really able to explore it well for live performances, where they fleshed it out a bit. They had the skeletal structure and then overdubs for the studio recording, and then they were really able to explore the song in all of its dimensions live. And that's probably why people on this podcast are saying that they do prefer the live version. And I would agree with that too. It has more room to breathe. It's a little stuffier on this album, and it's the only one, to my understanding, with Bob Hughes. And I know very little, if anything, about his work. Did he ever do anything else of note? Because they had Martin Birch for their producer for several albums, and seeing that they were in the UK, they had to go with an American producer. So I'm curious if there was a story behind the selection of him, whether or not he said anything, because I haven't seen anything regarding his input on the album or what the members thought of him. I'm taking that as a no.
Nope.
It is
All
something
right.
to keep in mind, though. Sure.
The problem with that, Nick, is that you would be the one to know that.
Yeah.
Out of this group, you usually know that kind of stuff.
That is true, but I have come empty-handed in that regard. I've scoured the internet, scoured all the archives, magazine articles, newspaper articles, to no avail, unfortunately. It's probably a question that I'm the only one who's ever had it.
Well, if anyone's watching, they have information. Put it in the comments.
Well,
Yes, please.
apparently, if you go online, he's got quite a bit of a track record with music.
Okay.
But does a lot of atmospheric and orchestral stuff too. So, but yeah, apparently he was started in 1969.
Is this from Discogs?
No,
Okay.
All Excess Inc.
All right, who knows?
But he was also a drum technician for the band Ambrosia.
Okay. Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So he helped out instrumentally for Van Halen, AC/DC, and Kiss.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there you go. It goes on. Yeah, so
I mean,
All right.
well, perhaps we could hear his influence on Coming Home, but we can't confirm. I mean, we were talking about atmospheric
Yeah.
touches, and that's certainly in that camp comfortably so. All right,
Maybe-
moving on.
Maybe it wasn't Christina on the keyboards. All right. Another song that's front loaded on side one, which is kind of setting the tone for an album that's kind of misleading because then the album doesn't stay quite as weird as it leads us to believe it is. We had Hypnotized on Mystery to Me. Bob Welch gives us his standard. I'm listening to Coast AM with Art Bell and thinking about UFOs.
I love Art Bell.
Yeah. Um,
No Art Bell jokes.
Bermuda Triangle. It's kind of like Hypnotized without the hook to me. Like I do like Bermuda Triangle, but once again, very very big on atmosphere. And I always remember my stepfather, rest in peace, Big Donnie. He's like, "Oh, I like that Bermuda Triangle song."
I love the chorus. I just wish her voice. I wish Christine's voice was as prominent on this as it was on Hypnotized.
I feel like the
Because then
beats
it
is
would
like a
have
little off.
then it would have felt like a hook more.
Yeah,
I mean, she's singing on it, but she chooses to like pare back. And so you can only hear very softly her voice. I don't know why, because it's such a catchy
Hmm.
chorus. And if she sounded like she did on Hypnotized Here, it would have been perfect.
I
I
think it's
think
such
so
a
too.
loss that Bob Welsh isn't with us because he certainly would have many conspiracy theories in 2025. Probably many that are correct. Jim, what are your notes on?
Yes, I think Bob was trying to recreate the mood of Hypnotized, but it falls short. Bob Welch does more rapping than singing on this. I do love the chorus where Welch is describing the places where people are coming from, has a good flow to it. Like it's like, geez, it's like I can't remember the cities he was talking about. Like Delaware. Delaware made a lyric sheet. It's kind of crazy, and just all these places, just random. They probably just fit. They kind of fit, and they flow together. But it was kind of cool. The backstory is kind of adds kind of meat to on the bones of this song. Let's see, and there was a couple live performances. I think it's Sausalito, and I think the Midnight Special, or was it Kirshner? I think it was
It was
Kirshner's
Kirshner, I think.
Kirshner. Yeah, and he would went on a long, he kind of just went into a story that uh, people were out on the boat, and they found the boat with a coffee on the table, and everything was no struggle. The boat was just floating around because people were missing, and
Hmm.
the humidity. It really adds a lot of mystery, and unless Bob's just telling a story, but I don't think he's the kind of guy that would do that. So it was kind of a friend of a friend thing.
You know what's interesting though is like the mystery that surrounds the actual Bermuda Triangle. This song really does capture that vibe.
Yeah.
Like it was successful in creating the mood and the tone of the subject matter. So,
I gotta
uh,
say, the live version is fantastic with the piano,
Hmm.
but
They made a jam out of it.
the guitar work on this tune is amazing. The razor
Yes.
sharp phrasing. It really just shows you what a great guitar player
Yeah, Bob.
Welsh was. I mean that really great, what is it, like a flamenco guitar or something? I don't even
Hmm.
know what kind of guitar that is, but it's so beautiful, and so crisp. Yeah.
I I have a conspiracy theory about this song because if you look at the lyrics, you have night, shadows, fog, moon, velvet, sea, blue, and ocean. Tell me, tell me, Stevie Nicks did not listen to this album and then write Angel from that.
She took basically that the song was her vocabulary bank.
Yeah, I
More or
think
less, yes.
let's
I,
also mention that in the lyrics they come from Tampa. So a little
Yeah.
shout out to where I am
Yeah.
right now.
I was
Oh,
waiting to see if Sargasso City was in here.
oh,
Oh yes, that's the city's in
Oh wait,
there.
from the live version, yeah.
Yeah. I agree with Tony. It's the live is so it all of it's crisp. Even the studio version's crisp. I love the way Christine sings with from Tampa with him. You know, you do get some live some vocals with her. Live, she does the vocals. She's kind of held back on the live stuff too, a little bit vocally on backing vocals for
Hmm.
this. But I love how spacey and mysterious this album is. The album cover weirds you out. You start with these weird horns. You come into, Coming Home Angel and now Bermuda Triangle. The live version, he has this long vamping. I think it irritated the band, and then they vamped for about 5 minutes, and then they closed the side with we'll get to it later, but
Right.
a bit closer, which sort of makes everything okay, and then you could take a break. But I love how side one of this is so spastic and mysterious and kind of just out there. So it gives me a good vibe. I love Bermuda Triangle. It's a great song.
I love that he says Tampa in here, considering I live here, but I do feel like there is like kind of, especially when you drive out to like the swamps in Florida, there is a kind of ancient magic here. So, uh, I'm probably this weekend going to drive out at 2 a.m., listen to this song, and you guys might never see me again. I might just disappear. So find someone else who wants to be the host of Phonogenics. Anyone want to take a job?
Nick will be the host of
Nick,
Phonogenics.
take it over. Take it over.
I could just do a lot of Peter Gabriel and Sting. Those would be the artists I would cover.
Yeah, I'll definitely be lost for those ones. But
get lost sometimes, as Peter would say, in your eyes. But on this song in particular, it was touched upon that the band somewhat resented Bob's stories. Well, Bob mentioned, I think, in one or two interviews, it could have been Rock Family Trees or a newspaper interview, that he would look over and then he would see Christine rolling her eyes at some of the very protracted stories that would come out. But I do think that this song in particular does epitomize Welch's mysticism, this really mysterious air surrounding him, and that Bob is a storyteller, and he conveys that on the studio recording, and it's very pronounced for the live versions too. And there are also a lot of parallels between how Bob writes, and then to a certain extent of how Stevie writes. I mean, a lot of recycling of words with midnight shadows. Stevie loves those words, as we all know. It just creates this very surreal imagery, and Bob does a terrific job here, and it's probably one of the songs that I'm most likely to show people if I mentioned Bob Welch and they haven't heard of them. I think this perfectly demonstrates the work that he creates, and he would do this again, maybe to lesser effect, on the song Ghost of Flight 401 on, I think, his second solo album to it. Carries a lot of those similarities too. I do like that track quite a bit.
A lot. It's very good.
Yeah, I like that song a lot.
Now, with back to this though, I got to say though that the live version, they might have, and I'm not totally sure that they complained about him vamping for a long time, because, I mean, when he told us this during the Q&A, he was pissed off at the band.
Oh, very much so. So you do.
So I mean, I don't know how much of that was, but if they were, they never let it show in their musicianship, because they sound fantastic behind him, just playing like they just kept going. Yep. The only thing that really annoys me is that the Sausalito recordings that we have on the CD and on the album that Jeremy has, they cut her piano solo, and it's so annoying on this song. She has a piano solo on this song, and they cut it.
And then to expound on that, the actual recording with the piano solo, it's like something happens to the tape and it sort of fades into the right into her rolling of
yeah.
I don't know, the sound drops out, and maybe that's why they cut it, because it is sort of funky. But they could have made it. They had the technology to make that better.
Oh my God, it's such a great solo too, and it's like, you're gonna leave on, if you're short of time, take off the introduction to the thing, or take off something else. It's but it was so irritating, because
it was an electric keyboard solo too. It was beautiful.
It was hot. It was hot, and it was they sounded really good. And I've got the full length version at home, and it's something like, it's almost 12 minutes. Whereas the one on the album, I think, is 10 minutes.
Is that the Bermuda Triangle cleaning lady version?
Yeah. Christine singing, "I don't want to be a cleaning lady."
He does Future Games on that same concert, and that's about 12 minutes too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the longest recorded Fleetwood Mac songs. I mean, other than the supposed 3-hour versions of Black Magic Woman, the 20-minute version of World Turning with 12 drum solos.
Oh, not the vest. Don't bring up the vest on this podcast. All right, any other thoughts on Bermuda Triangle?
Yes, so I think I actually listened or watched the live version. It must have been the Kirshner version on YouTube before I listened to the studio version. And forever in my mind, I have Doug Graves in his sequin suit in my mind of him just rocking back and forth with his ARP synthesizer backing Christine McVie up.
And he's and Bob with those like the jerk sunglasses or the jerk
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
You know?
Right.
I've seen that one.
All right, well, as we roll to the end of side one, here comes the string section. We started with the horn section. We have some weird ass songs. We have Bermuda Triangle. Shout out to Tampa. And then a bombastic Christine McVie ballad with a full string section, 1974. You know what, though? I'm here for it. When I was younger, I didn't like this song. When I was listening to the car today, I rolled down the window and just stuck my leg out the window and was feeling it. Come a little closer, baby.
Who was pressing the pedal?
I can't answer that one on this podcast.
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
I'll start.
Isn't this a beautiful song, though?
It's like you. I thought it was a little cheesy when I first heard it, and now I listened to it. And I thought, how could you ever think that about this song? It's absolutely gorgeous. It's lush. It's rich. And you know the lyrics that speak no secret of what she's trying to convey. She uses this piano solo for she recycles it and puts it in front of something else, doesn't she?
Why? She puts it in front of why.
Right. She takes this and uses it for why, but also uses the why introduction too. And so there's like almost like no, she uses this and then goes into why, and it's really strange. But I give this song a thumbs. It's such a great way to close that side one, and it leaves you feeling like, okay, what's next? And you flip.
I think it's a great tune. It's a great tune, like in terms of songwriting. Her voice is beautiful on it too. I just feel like all of the strings and the drums in particular are kind of drowning out her voice and everything else. It's kind of like it's everything, all the music is toppling it. So that I've mentioned it before in the podcast, that person was it Gothic Trunk, that person that does that stuff. Well, whoever did that took the all that person did was strip it away, and so you could just hear the acoustic guitar underneath it.
Oh,
and Christine singing. It is so exquisite. I haven't heard anything so gorgeous in my life. Jeremy, I'll send it to you. I'll send you the link. It is so gorgeous just hearing her with the acoustic guitar.
Wow.
And I just don't understand why they felt they needed to put so much on it. You know what I mean?
It's interesting. When I was a kid, I feel like I never liked like Christine's last song on side one because to this day I still don't love "I'm Out of My Mind" only over you. Like I still don't love that song. But this one, to the contrary, I'm here for it now. The legs out the window. Jim, what are your notes?
Yes, pretty piano intro. The strings really add to the song. Very romantic. I think Christine sings in a little bit of a higher register that is needed. Kind of a Beatlesque type textures in the music. I shed a little tear that Christine is not here with us anymore. I mean, I was playing this week, and oh my God, she's not here. You know, she's here in us. She's here in us, but she's not here in the where she could possibly do some creativity, and we're waiting for it, sort of thing. A very good song, but a very good song, but it doesn't have a radio format that it would fit into. It's just terrific, but where would this fit in a radio format?
AM radio.
I feel like mixed drums almost hit a little too hard for easy listening.
They do. It's too much for the.
It's kind of a hard. What do you call it?
It's a little bombastic, but it works.
But I think that this was like kind of geared towards, they were thinking of AM radio.
I also think this could be used if you've spliced it up and used it for a movie soundtrack.
Yeah.
You know, like a romantic scene, and you don't have to use the parts with mixed drums in it. I think this is very cinematic. This, I'm dancing to the music of a simple melody.
Yeah.
I mean, she opens you up and you're like, okay, let's hear it, Christine. I it's
Oh,
so, it's
I
just
got one more.
part of her elegance. Go ahead, Jim.
Yes, and I was reading the lyrics. You know, I when I do this, I look at all the lyrics and kind of pick out like some little like Easter eggs or just something that. And the lyric here says, "I'll make you wrong, but that's where I belong." That's like she's kind of telling John, "I'll make you a drunk, but that's where I belong." It's kind of like she still wants to be in the band, but you're going to be miserable, and that's exactly what that's saying. And it rhymes and it works and it's kind of a hidden little treasure of a lyric. Um, Other than that being very romantical and in the music, but that's a very very striking lyric to say to another person or just to say for an audience. That's a very sophisticated, deep, interesting lyric there.
Kind of like a devil and an angel.
Yeah.
All right, further thoughts on Come a Little Closer?
I don't know, but
I know Nick and Tony got that joke.
one thing,
Yes.
yeah.
Ask anybody, right?
Jim, when you said "I'll make you wrong," is that what you said?
Yeah, it says "I'll make you wrong," but
No,
that's
it's "I might be wrong."
what
I might be
I
wrong.
might be wrong,
I see it right here.
but that's where I belong.
It says "I'll make you wrong, but that's where I belong." It could be a misprint.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I never
I'm
trust those
looking at it
lyrics.
too. I'm looking at it too, and it says "I might be wrong,"
Okay,
but that makes more sense.
it makes more sense, but this really sounds really cool and deep.
Yeah, you got
Like
what
pointed.
I got, John. I might be wrong. Yeah.
But you know what,
I'll have to listen to that.
Jim, in your defense, I've seen Apple Music get the lyrics wrong, and then I go to the album and it's different. So who knows what it is? I'll have to go back and listen. But I
pull it down.
I didn't mean to make you wrong, Jim.
Jim, you have the actual lyric sheet.
I don't think there was ever a lyric sheet for this album.
There was never a lyric sheet.
Okay.
There was a $2 rebate you could put in and see if you could win a trip to to be backstage with the Doobie Brothers.
Oh, I'll pass.
On the Heroes?
It was like it was part of the sleeve. You took it out. And it was like if you mailed in $2, there was a chance you could be backstage with Fleetwood Mac or the Doobie Brothers. Yeah.
That was like $20 back then. That was like $20.
All these debates about lyrics, all the way back to Emmeline, you guys.
It's probably that I might be wrong, but this is like, man, when I saw that, I said, "Wow."
Well, I mean, "I'll make you wrong" is certainly more interesting, but
yeah, it's more interesting.
I think your lyric is more interesting too, Jim.
We'll accept that. She's not here to prove us wrong.
That's the lyric. It describes the situation they were in. It describes it perfectly, but it's probably a misprint.
Any further thoughts on Come a Little Closer?
Okay. Yeah, so I'll give my quick thoughts on it. So when I heard the chord progression, it brought me to the song Baba O'Reilly, and it's demonstrated with not the power chords, it's mostly the strings taking that role. And I think that they're incredibly dense in the production, super lush. And that's a key production element that I oftentimes listen for songs, and it's perfect here. I was actually able to find a quote from Christine briefly mentioning this, and it was in the Messenger Press. This was conducted in November of 1975, and I'll just read it to you right now. Okay. And she says, "The type of music I'm into right now began with Come a Little Bit Closer from the last album. It's very free and easygoing." And perhaps she did use that as a template for some of her other songs, like Warm Ways, although I don't really hear the influence there as much, but she seemed to hold that in high regard at least the year after, enough to mention it in an interview. And it's probably one of my favorite songs on the album too, for that matter. I enjoy this. I enjoy all four of Christine's offerings here. Yeah. It's probably it's around the peak of her compositional skills, I would say. And it might even be my favorite collection of her songs from any of her albums, believe it or not. Even more than Tango in the Night, perhaps, actually.
The song's definitely a grower.
Now, did was she influenced like from Baba O'Reilly, or was it the
No,
other
I
way?
don't think. Well, if she was, then she never mentioned
When
that.
was yeah was what was released first?
Baba
Bob
O'Reilly, I'm
O'Reilly.
almost positive, was very early 1970s.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
just a parallel that I identified, but it's such a common chord
I can
progression that you
I
can't really
kind of
steal it.
I
I will
kind of
say
get that with that. What it sonically it's has kind of like a similarity of Bob O'Reilly, somewhat.
A
So
bit, sure.
the,
it's
the
cool.
piano. I will say in closing on this, the piano intro. I also was always been amazed by her patience of doing a piano solo, because if you play when you get to the solo part, you're just amped up for it. But she's always so relaxed, and there's even some delays on some of her phrasing. She pauses and then it goes forward. The live version where she does the Y, it's a little bit more rushed, but like you listen to the Crystal keyboard solo at the end,
Hmm.
it's so intense but yet patient.
Mhm.
It's patient, and I love the patience that she has when she sings and plays. It wasn't until like I saw her do Everywhere that I was like, the first time with Billy Burnett, and I was like, wow, she's rushing, and I've never really seen her rush through a song.
Well, she was doing maracas. I don't think she's really played keyboards live for that song at all. Usually that's for people like Dan Garfield, Brett Tuggle.
Maybe she just wants to get it over with because she's up front.
Maybe she didn't want to hear Stevie's background part that she
Oh my
added during that
God,
too.
that the tango background
I
was
want to
terrible.
be with you.
Oh my God, that was terrible.
It sounds like someone keeps talking out of turn, and you're like, shh.
There was something on the ledge, like Stevie should just brought a gong out right in the middle of the song and just hit it.
Go behind Mick's kit.
Yeah. I use that as an example. Something I played a show with 4 other
With her
musicians.
jean jacket and baseball
Yeah.
cap on sideways, and uh, she was in a bad place.
Well, it was
All
only
right.
for those few tours, starting with the dance onward. That was scrapped entirely once Lindsay came back. And I'm curious if they rehearsed it with that Stevie part. And Lindsay said,
Oh, I doubt
"What are
it.
you doing?"
I
And
doubt
then
it.
get that out of the song.
What would you guys do like the next season of Phonogenics? Like I become like Stevie and like redo all my close-ups with a different hairstyle. All right. Side 2 of the album. Now we're gonna go to an alternate universe, you guys. This is the album we have. Let's pretend that side 2 was actually side 1. And they used a picture of them in California with all the palm trees and very colorful on the beach. Same songs. This could have been a whole different album if it was packaged differently, with a different look. Because I feel like She's Changing Me. When I listened to this today in the car, I'm like, this is the first indication on a Fleetwood Mac album, really, of what you'd get with Bob Welch going solo. Like, I know Sentimental Lady a little bit, but to me, like, this was a different feeling for a Bob song on a Fleetwood Mac album. What do you guys think?
Probably his poppiest offering out of any of his Fleetwood Mac material, even more than Hypnotized. That
Right.
one's more atmospheric. This one falls under the tent of even a little bit of a country rock almost. It reminds me of the Eagles in a way, and it probably could have had some potential if they had more clout at this time. If they had the same level of clout as they did on the Way album and they put it out as a single, could have very well been along like songs like Take It Easy, for example.
I feel like Bob
Except,
harmonizing with himself sounds wonderful. Like, I love
except
it.
those weird lyrics. You could never make them top 10, right?
Oh, the Sweet
Yeah.
Omega.
Yeah, the Sweet Omega. It's like, what the heck is going on there?
Well, that catches the listener's attention, and that might provoke discussion.
I thought Don Henley too. Someone mentioned the Eagles, but it's more poppy than anything Christine has on this album, to be
Right.
honest. It could have been the hit. It might have made the top 30. You know, it's so catchy and it's short. So, Jim, you were talking about radio format. I
Yeah.
think this would have been, maybe like the FM pop stuff, like with the Savoy Brown, and it's weird, but it's really poppy. And it's catchy. It's not just something I don't put on all the time because it's not. I'm not compelled to listen to it.
It's almost like something from one of Danny Kerwin's solo albums. It's so poppy. You know how he went like really pop on second
Yeah.
chapter?
It's weird because I feel like this one, I like the song. I'm with you, John. I don't really not compelled to listen to it very often, but one of the reasons why is I don't think it was a piece of honest writing. I think it was engineered. Like they sat down and thought, what can we do to get on the radio? And he said, well, let me come up with something.
Sweet Omega.
Let me come up with some
You better
sweet
beware.
Omega hit for you. And I think that's. I mean, I think it was very much a forced piece.
Is it the
Even
Say You
though-
Will of the album?
Yeah, I think it was like. Yeah, I think he was trying to channel his commercial side, and
Did
you
he
know,
say, I'm praying to the commercial gods?
oh God, Jesus.
Oh,
Yeah, you
shit.
mentioned her lasso dance
Yeah.
and she was thinking that would be the biggest thing. Like, this is going to be the dance of 2003. It's going to be on TikTok. No.
Do you think
She
Bob
only
had a
did that
lasso
for one
dancer?
tour, thank God.
Jim, what are your notes on this one?
Yes, I hear some Beach Boys textures in this song, especially the chorus. It's very, he's harmonizing with himself, very Beach Boys like.
Mhm.
In a lot of ways, this song is like something from the Rumors lineup, but no particular song comes to mind. I love the subtle horns in the outro. Not that all strong of a song to start side two of a Fleetwood Mac album. It's
I
it's
feel like they only
very
had so much budget for the horn, so they're like, okay, we'll put it on the first track on each side.
well. It's very pop. I mean, it's very and it it could have found its way in an alternate universe on the radio. They were throwing their best shot at on the radio, and they were just an album too early on that.
Speaking of the advance money, I recall reading a story that given that Bob Welch was the only American of the group, that the money that was supposed to go to the album actually went to his personal account. And for a little bit, I don't think the band received it, but for the royalties, I think that was the case. It was the
He
band
brought
advance.
that they put all their money in his account because they didn't
Legal.
have any accounts, and
Okay. Yeah.
um, and then a couple of years later, Bob Welsh needed to get he was taxed heavily on it.
Mm.
So, yeah. So,
Classic.
That wretched advance money.
yeah.
The band would have put it in their nose. The government got the money.
They would have had a toot. They would have done a toot. Well, I love this song. I think it's another, if the album cover wasn't so dark and shadowy, and the album could have been marketed so many different ways. And this is just a really sunny California song, like "Welcome to California," Fleetwood Mac, and it really pointed the way of where Bob would go on French Kiss. I feel like with some of the stuff on there. All right. After that, we have. Good things come to those who wait did not make it on Mystery to Me, but they're like, that is too hot of a drum beat to not use. I don't know if that's the case. But Bad Loser, man, you don't get a lot of songs like this from Christine.
No.
Bad Journey. I guess they don't have the word bad in it. Bad Journey, Bad Loser.
Except this is a lot better.
Yeah. Man, I loved the thing. This album has a lot of haunting things. I love the harmonies that they overdub over the instrumentals. It's just so, it's that Fleetwood Mac magic.
This is the hottest tune on the record, I think.
Yeah, it's hot. Woo!
It's the hottest tune. I love this tune.
It's terrific. Yeah, I think it's one of the few angry Christine McVie songs. Oftentimes she's dealing with the sentimental lyrics, very saccharine. And this, to my understanding, was directed at Clifford Davis and the whole ordeal that transpired in the months before the album. I'm not sure if it's been confirmed, but based on lyrical interpretations, even a cursory glance, you can make that for potential inference.
Yeah, so you thought you had a hold on me. Things are different now. It's like, come on. But I mean, yeah, she is angry in it, but what I love is that the attitude is very cool. She said
Yeah.
it's very cool. It's like the coolest kiss off you've ever seen. So it's like she never loses control. It's all very sexy too. It's a beautiful beautiful song.
It has the feel of like a James Bond film to me, that spaghetti genre that they had at the time. Um, I think that it you I have you talked about she's changing me not being an honest piece of writing. I feel like it's a turn for her, but it's an honest piece of writing for her, but with a different theme finally than other than someone being drunk and you know having a bad relationship and being mad about the opposite sex.
Right.
I think it shows that you heard Mick drumming jazz on Coming Home, which he does such a good job.
Mm.
There, and then you listen to Christine change up. Let me do a different song. She does Elvis later on. She's very flexible, but she doesn't sound like a newcomer to this sort of song. It sounds like she's been doing this all along.
Sure.
That's what I love about
Yes,
it. And that's
definitely.
what I think is honest about it, because she didn't like Bob is like, all right, I'm going to write a pop song. And she's like, all right, I'm going to write a dark song that's not too much about love. It's more about business. And honest.
And it sounds like the same attitude that went into Keep On Going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
Fair
what.
enough.
Except
It's
she
like-
actually wrote this one.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same attitude though
Yes.
that toward the material, and someone in the Q&A years earlier had asked Bob if he had had a hand in designing the song, and he said no. He said this was all Christine and Mick worked together on this.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
I think we can really focus on Mick's tom work, but equally impressive to me is that tambourine that just kind of goes through the whole thing and keeps things moving.
Stevie would have never.
Stevie would have never. Nope.
Jeremy, it's funny you say that, because I've been watching Christine stuff like on Monday morning and then on Eyes of the World.
Yeah, she's doing tambourine on those songs.
Christine is so good on the tambourine. Like, even when she turns around, she keeps it by the mic and she stays in rhythm. And you have, and then on Monday morning, she actually plays the organ. No, secondhand news. She'll play the organ and then she picks it up and she doesn't miss a beat. And Stevie's over there with hers, and it's like it's not near the microphone. You have no idea what's going on with it. And my friend,
it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor.
My friend that watched Fleetwood Mac was like, why does the keyboard player have to play the other percussive instruments? And I was like, it's a long story.
It's a long story.
Yeah, she was delegated pretty much all the maraca parts during her time in the band, whether that be Rattlesnake Shake, Oh Well, World Turning, Everywhere. She did a bunch of percussion. Oh Well, exactly. She did some snare drum on Secondhand News, doing all sorts of instruments.
Christine was the best, man. And then she played
Yeah.
guitar.
Yeah,
Guitar on Save Me a
Save
Place.
Me a Place, right. And then for rehearsals of The Ledge too, which didn't make the set, but you can find footage of that.
Shit.
Did they actually perform "Save Me" with her on guitar? Because
they did. She'd played it in some of the shows in Tusk Tour.
And you can find a recording of it, I think, on one of the deluxe versions. I think it's probably the deluxe version of Tusk, and if not that, it would be live. I think it's the former, though.
There's there's also the Tusk Tour rehearsals. You can watch her playing it.
Yes.
I saw that. I've never seen anything else with that.
Yeah, they did Save Me a Place, and That's Enough for Me a couple of times. About a dozen each, if I'm not mistaken. And I think they're great renditions. And ironically, to my understanding, I don't think she played on either of those songs for the studio recordings, and they had to give her something to do for both.
Yeah, well, he couldn't steal that away from her because he could only play one instrument at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, Jim, what are your notes on this one?
Yes, very reminiscent of Keep On Going from Mystery to Me, especially the vocals. A low, thunderous, pounding song, well played by everyone in the band, but the sameness doesn't break much ground. It's, like I referred to Keep On Going, even though I don't know, maybe she had a discussion. Hey, Keep On Going is such a good thing, a collaboration more or less, and this kind of just keeps kind of the ball rolling on that. But Christine did it herself, and they said Mick too. I think Mick has a lot of input on a lot of things in every song in Fleetwood Mac. I
Mhm.
mean, just verbal and ideas, and and that's not really been stated. And I think this would fit on Tango and Behind the Mask a little bit too. So it kind of in that ballpark, I think.
All right.
Well,
Any
Mick
other
Fleetwood,
thoughts?
yeah, yeah,
Go
Mick
ahead, Nick.
Fleetwood
Yeah, I
was
think
a
we
bit
got
of
to
a
go. I
studio
think we got
rat.
to move on. It's getting to 10. If we're getting past almost to 10:15 here.
Are we trying to make this the longest podcast?
Well, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 songs. We'll be good.
Yeah.
We'll be done by 11.
I just do my notes.
Oh, with
And
Jim's
I do
notes, we'll
have
be
the
done by
actual quote.
11:30.
I do have the actual quote from the Q&A where Bob Welch said, "I think Bad Loser sounds like me because Mick played one of his jungle drum trademark things on it." And he didn't often do that on one of Christine's songs.
No.
So that was the question that was asked. That was the answer to one of the questions surrounding Mick's drumming. And Mick indeed does have a lot of influence. He loves being in the studio. It was pretty much him, Christine, and Lindsay who spent the most time in the studio of the Rumors 5. And that's very evident if you listen to all the tracks with all of his overdubs that were very much at the forefront on Mirage and then Tango in the Night too, to a lesser extent too. But I think that Mick's influence also extends here, and it's one of the best parts. I also love John's bass playing.
Oh, yeah.
And then Bob's guitar, absolutely terrific. It's one of my favorite parts, especially when he does that ascending line where he does do 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 do, that little part near I think one of the final verses. It's just very well arranged. A lot of thought was put into it, and it's very evident.
All right. Well, moving on. Silver Heels, also heard in an explicit version. On which album was it? The Bop one?
Bop.
Yes, on
one.
Bop, the explicit
yeah.
X-rated version.
The X-rated version. Bob Welch After Dark. That album will not be covered on Phonogenics 101. I apologize. But we will be covering the version from Heroes Are Hard to Find.
I'll be quick since we're late. I really don't like the song. I've never really liked the song. I think it's the backing vocals, whoa, whoa, silver, and they just keep doing it over and over again.
Yeah.
And, and if I'm watching dishes or something, it's the only reason I don't go over and skip it.
See, I like the chorus. Like you have like the minor key chorus, then the major key, or the minor key verse, major key poppy chorus. I think once again, it's kind of the verses are where he's been. The chorus is kind of where he's going with the solo stuff. That's about all.
I feel like it's a really catchy tune, but I don't think he knows how to sing it. He can't sing it.
Was he talking about Etta James?
Yeah. I mean, like it's a catchy tune, but he doesn't have the voice for it, and it's just
I feel like melody-wise, it's a good chorus, but it's like the most awkward lyrics since "Keep a Country Blues, Keep a Rockin'."
I was busy looking at her fur. I was like, oh, God, Bob, stop, Bob.
Well, Jim, let's do Jim's notes.
Yeah, a Bob Welch song, not unlike his solo work. The Paul McCartney lyric is pretty cringy. I mean, it's kind of like you just throw stuff in there. Bob Welch trying to get funky, but it doesn't quite work. But a kind of a cool song anyway. It's kind of just kind of like a non-hit Bob Welch song to me.
Is what my friend Bill would call WBF, White Boy Funk.
Yeah.
I feel like you could have had Sweet Omega in this song too.
Yeah, bring the Sweet Omega back. So, what are some of the X-rated lyrics from the other one? Is anyone willing to say? Because I
haven't heard Bob Welch at Bop since the late '90s, so I can't tell you.
Well, there's some sampled vocals, and I think it's "I want to be a motherfucking hustler." I think that is one of the lines, and it's a kid. It's some sort of sample of a kid, and I think there's some sex noises kind of underneath all of that too, for that matter. So that contributes to it.
TMI, yeah.
He's looking at a different fur on her, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, that's why I thought the original was pretty out there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he also did another rendition of this on his Fleetwood Mac Years and Beyond. And in the liner notes, he discussed the 3 songs from Heroes Are Hard to Find, and he doesn't really say too much of note for Angel or Bermuda Triangle, but he does have maybe 2 senses or so for Silver Heels. So he called it a body song. And he said a lot of people like that song, but apparently that does not apply to this panel. And he said it was never a single, but it was a fun song to do. That was definitely about a composite character of a real pat your feet, sing your song, Ethel Merman wearing a fox fur type of Balti chick coming into the room. So that's what he said about that song. And I'm probably a little bit more positive on it in comparison to the other people on this podcast. I love the opening line. She came in like a hurricane. It's one of those lyrics that really grab your attention and it compels you to listen more to see what else he has to offer. But unfortunately, he doesn't have too much more left to offer in the lyrical department. He kind of peaks there. I do like the instrumentation with the cowbell, of course. Gotta love that component. And the chorus is super catchy too, for that matter.
Yeah.
There's a guitar to break after the first verse.
Yes.
It's really, really catchy.
Yeah, the funky, like doom, doo, doo, bam, doo, boom, boom. And it sounds like there's some hand claps.
It's just
too.
the guitar. It's just the guitar, and there's like a little bit of a percussion in the background.
Yeah, hand claps, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, the hand claps are pretty cool in the song.
That is pretty. That's like a really good moment in the song.
Very
and like
much
I said,
so.
I think it's catchy. He just doesn't know how to sing it.
You know what's interesting is I feel like the production choices on like if Angel hadn't faded and had a more traditional opening, it might have been more palatable to the masses. And the same with this song. If it didn't come in with a lyric and actually had an intro, like it already is a little different. You know what I mean? I don't know.
It's more like a rock album than a pop album.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with different sequencing, you had a very different result. And there's a person on the Eurythmics podcast who will always
Jimmy
resequence the album. And I'd be curious to see what the result would be if we were to put this in a different sequence, maybe putting the darker atmospheric songs near the end and then having the more conventional tracks earlier on, and if that would change the perception of it quite a bit.
With the picture of them with the Hollywood sign on the front.
Yeah, I think that would certainly be a completely different presentation.
Yeah, that cover is terrible. That cover is terrible. Oh.
So I think wasn't it that Peter Green's girlfriend who later married Larry Vigon, who did a lot of the art design? I think she was the person who she was the person who gave Mick Fleetwood the undergarments, the underwear.
She should have kept them.
See, we should have been on theme, and everyone should have worn those underwear for this podcast. All right.
Missed opportunity there.
Missed opportunity.
One little tip, and then we can move on. There is a bit of a lyric change for the re-recording. So for this version, he mentions Etta James. And for the re-recording, he changed it to Kurt Cobain. So if I could sing like Paul McCartney, get funky like Kurt Cobain, that's what he changed it to for the later version. He wanted a more contemporary reference, I suppose.
What if you were still alive and you did a 2025 version? Would it be like, I would be funky like Bad Bunny?
Yeah, it would be Lil Baby or something like that.
Oh, no.
Lil Nas.
Boy, this podcast is just tanking right at the last Fleetwood Mac episodes. All right, moving on. Oh, Prove Your Love. I mean, I feel like this could have been right on Tusk with some of those like Beach Boysy kind of Christine McVie songs with that reverby kind of. Even Mirage kind of had that kind of feel.
Yeah,
beautiful. Jim, let's start with your notes for this one. Let's go right to the
Christine in her standard greatness, a well-formed finish song. I could have used the song personally when it came out. And as I wasn't exposed to Fleetwood Mac yet, I love it when Christine begins singing again after the musical bridge. It just kind of is like there's a pretty good lengthy bridge, and then when Christine comes right back in there, it's kind of like, and I had sort of like a reflection that, well, this is the Over My Head girl. This is that point. This is very few months away from when I heard Over My Head on the radio, and this is that person with that same sort of sentiment. I think Christine was like a cathartic. I came up with that catharsis for me. Like, you know, I was having trouble at school, and I was kind of depressed, and this person kind of cheered me up a little. So, this was kind of like I could have used this when it came out.
I kind of feel like the atmosphere of the song sits next to Over and Over a little bit from Tusk. Just that kind of melancholy. The like I said, a lot of the reverb.
Yeah.
What do the rest of you guys think of this song?
Um, the ahs, I think they're overcooked. I think they could be undercooked a little bit and make it a little bit more atmospheric to match maybe side one.
Okay.
The lyric "I want to be inside your heart." Thank God she said heart. Um, but then that's the place for me. I feel like that's a little lazy. I feel like the lyrics could be tightened up a little bit to make this more of a masterpiece that I want it to be. But
Okay.
I still love the song. I play, it's one that I go to a lot and listen to it. I think her vocals just amazing. I think the ahs in the beginning, they're just overcooked. They're too much in the front. There needs to be some echo on it or something. It's a little too shrill or something for me.
Do I feel like this is the first song that she had that kind of sounded like this? Like there'd be more that came later, but I can't think of anything like on Penguin or Mystery that.
It's weird. It's you'd mentioned over and over before. You mentioned Over My Head, and I mean, I know that there's some of the vocal techniques that you can hear in Only Over You and kind of thing, but
Yeah.
this is better than any one of those songs on paper. This is a great tune.
Mhm.
I mean, it's catchy. It's got great chord progressions. It's a really, and she even said years later when she's being interviewed about this, she said, "That's a good one."
Yeah.
She said, but she didn't like the way she was singing on it. And it's funny because I agree with John. I think she sounds fantastic on it. Um, but I do think it would have been, and I actually like the lyrics on it. I think the lyrics are perfect. But what I would have liked to have seen is just slight increase in tempo.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking that.
That
Okay.
that drum beat is just a little too plodding for me.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's not overcooked. It's too slow. And if C makes
Yeah,
it too, yeah, I think you're right.
just a little bit, just like a little kick up, and
Right.
it would be perfect. It's like that drum beat, that dun 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 dun
Mick was too tired
dun.
after Bad Loser. He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It's like it feels like he's about to fall asleep. I mean, it's like, what's going on?
he's like, I need a breather after that one.
You hear too much.
All right. The next song, I'm gonna put this record away, and like 2 weeks from now, someone's gonna ask me to like, what does Born Enchanter sound like? And I can never conjure this song until
As much as I'd love to move on, I think Nick wants to say something
Oh,
about
Nick, I'm
Peter
sorry. Go
Love.
ahead.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorites on the record. I was curious on what tracks were the most popular on streaming services. I checked Spotify and it was actually Prove Your Love. Oftentimes it's the single from the album where the
Oh,
algorithm pushes that song, but this is bordering 2 million at least as of 2025.
You
oh
know why,
yeah.
don't you?
I don't know.
It was used on two TV shows.
Oh,
It was
was it?
the
Okay.
opening episode of what was it? The Act? Was that the
Yeah, it
Act?
was the act. And
The
that was
Act, and then there was a basketball show about basketball players in the seven. It was the one about that. What was that? Who was that big Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? It was a TV show about his life, and there's a scene in there which is just used.
Oh,
Wow.
And so, I think people are watching these shows and they're hearing it going, wow,
that's a good song.
yeah.
Nick, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to move on without you.
No, well, that's an explanation on why perhaps the song does have far more plays than really any of the other tracks on the album.
Hmm.
And I love the plotting drum beat. It's simple, but very effective. One of those other examples that I cited where
Let
we
me look.
have a nice drum break, very distinctive. The mixing of the drums, it's a bit different than maybe some of the other drum intros that would be used on very later Fleetwood Mac oriented songs like Red Sun or Lay Down for Free. I think this is far superior, even though it's very
Holy
basic, probably the most basic drum beat you could play, actually.
Mhm.
But he plays it with his signature behind the beat feel, and it works incredibly well. And it's another example of the band using strings. It might be the last example on this album, actually. And I'm almost positive that these are real strings as opposed to an ARP string ensemble because Christine was indeed credited with that instrument, but it sounds too authentic and there are too many intricacies of the playing for it to sound like a keyboard. But
I agree. I always thought that. I always thought that, but never questioned it.
They had that
okay.
Burbank budget.
They extended maybe to a third song, perhaps, where they said, "All right, we have 10 more minutes, actually. All right, what song do you want to pull up? Prove Your Love? Great. All right, get some strings on there,
Get some
call it
strings.
a day." Yeah, exactly.
You
But
know
I
what's
give it a
funny
thumbs
is
up.
I was actually trying to find the name of the other TV show.
Uh-huh.
Oh, the one about the basketball players, and I
Yeah,
can't find it right now. But come to find out, Prove Your Love was also featured on two other shows. One
interesting.
was Nip and Tuck in 2003,
Oh,
and the other one was Casual in 2017.
go
All right, so
Christine.
it's
Get
been
those.
spread out. I
This
know.
show
Get
has
those
had this
royalties.
particular song has had quite a bit of life.
Yeah, thank goodness for that too.
I just cash apped Christine's grave. She,
I know.
10 more months.
John Perfect is getting the venti drink because he can afford it.
Yes.
And Dan.
Oh yeah, Dan, that's who I meant. Dan. All right, moving on. Like I said, I'm gonna pull this album out in 3 weeks, and I'm gonna be like, "What does Born Enchanter sound like?" I can never remember the song. When I'm listening to it, I remember it. Christine, there's a lot of piano. You know how Christine and Lindsay sound so much alike? I feel like Bob sounds a lot like Christine on the song. Like, who the hell is it?
Okay.
It's Bob.
It is Bob, but it almost sounds like Christine, doesn't it?
Hmm.
She had a way of blending with other voices, like even Stevie, when those two sing like the Rhiannon lines together.
Yeah.
Christine sort of just, and then I guess Lindsay's. I just heard this quote recently, but Lindsay said that Christine could sound like Stevie if she really tried hard enough, and he would use her in the studio to do Stevie's voice. And I never knew that, and I got to think about where I read that, but I think I read it on the Ledge just recently, but I didn't know that.
That's how they finished Tango in the Night.
Well, it would be that, and then the variable speed oscillator that Lindsay would use,
Yeah.
where sometimes, and then he does that quite a bit on his solo albums too, for that
Right.
matter, especially from Under the Skin onward. And then
After
maybe
a while,
little
though,
bit
it's like,
Long Order.
okay, we get it, Lindsay. We get it.
I love Born Enchanter. I love how quick it goes. I love how swift it is. I think it's well done. I think it's arranged nicely.
It's like a jam session almost. Don't you feel like, in a way?
And it just, Christine is like leading that song with it.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic. And it's finally, it's like we get to hear her play versus all the men.
When's the last time we heard her play like that? Like on her solo album? Like, you don't get to hear her play like that too often on Fleetwood Mac albums.
I love this tune, by the way. I mean, I know when I first heard it when I was like 12 years old or 13 years old, I remember thinking, this is so stupid. And I'm a born enchanter. But as I got older, man, do I love this tune. I love this tune. I think it's fun. I think it's a great beat, a great riff. You know, da, 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 da.
Mhm.
I just think it's great. And then her piano is rocking on this.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm pretty sure they couldn't take this anywhere. Like this strikes me as a one-off, kind of like the way the city is the one-off on Mystery to Me. This is kind of like a one-off, but it's hot.
Yeah. All right, Jim Miller, what are your notes on this one?
Yes. Let's see, Born Enchanter. Okay, I more or less thought this was just another a Bob Wells Playboy type song, but Bob is conflicted here that he does have to mingle looking for a more permanent partner. I mean, if you don't play, you don't end it with a good relationship, and he's had a couple in his life. And Bob and Christine seem to sing in a higher octave than they done before this album. It's like there was a comment that they sound alike, and that's kind of correct. I think they probably did that to kind of make the album uniform.
Sure.
So the band lays down a dirty track to emphasize the mood of the song. I have looked up. There's a lyric like Sabbath Cross and Faith I Lost, and then it rhymes really nice. And I looked up Sabbath Cross, and all I would get was kind of like Black Sabbath references, more or less. So I didn't really get a definite definition. And a good number of Bible reference. There's a lot of especially Bob, he would have a Bible reference here and there in the last few albums we've been working with, and I've been looking up Bible meanings and seeing what he's trying to convey. And let's see, I've noticed the band has, along with the like a religious references, I have noticed that the band has a lot of spirituality along with a lot of progressive themes too on the record. These albums are fairly sophisticated for the time.
Yeah.
And
for this time, even.
even this time, and it's a little deep thinking. The Kerwin stuff is pretty deep, and Bob and Christine in a way too. So that's pretty good.
We started here, we ended with wet ass pussy. I mean, it was all downhill from.
It's all been all. Yeah, it's been.
All right, Nick. I don't want to skip over you. So, what are your?
Yeah, so when I heard it, I thought it was absolute rubbish, but upon re-examination, I think the instrumentation, the instrumental track does redeem it to a certain extent, in that the drums really do cook. Love the guitar work. Christine's piano playing, some of her best playing on any Fleetwood Mac record. I still can't really get past Bob's singing. We were talking about several podcasts ago how Bob's falsetto needed to be protected on the title track for future games, and perhaps it would have been better if that was the case on this, where we get the limitations of what Bob is capable of doing in the singing department. I think it's probably one of the weakest tracks in Fleetwood Mac's catalog, if you exclude Jeremy Spencer's offerings. Sorry.
Okay, well, yeah.
Well, I'm so stupid. I thought it was Christine singing, so that shows how much I know.
Here's a question: Bad Loser or Welcome to the Room, Sarah?
Bad Loser, Welcome to the Room, Sarah. Are you talking about Born Enchanter or Welcome to the Room, Sarah?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know, like,
Welcome to the Room, Sarah. Which one?
I think Welcome to the Room, Sarah is passable enough. I don't have strong feelings about it. I know it's seen as one of her worst tracks, but I think that the instrumentation
I'd go with Born Enchanter any day.
I was an angsty 21-year-old living literally like in a walk-in closet, and I had to get out of a situation. I listened to Welcome to the Room, Sarah, and I left that house. So I'm like, I always have a memory of that song. Like,
oh, I see.
Yes. Did you cease to exist at that point?
I said front line, baby. I'm out of here.
I get
the first cut is the deepest. Yes.
I get attacked on the ledge often because I love Welcome to the Room.
I love Welcome to the Room, Sarah.
I think it's fine. Yeah.
It's got that, it like drops out. It's just weird.
It's so weird, like that 80s like synthesized tom beat.
But the drums, it sounds like he's trying to sound like the 10,000 Maniacs.
Which I love. I love Natalie Merchant.
So do I, but it's like
I think it's so bad that it's good. That's why I like it.
It's so bad it's great.
It's great. Like, and it's pretty bad. But
of course there was a problem.
I think it's just when I first listened to that album, I thought, okay, she had 3 songs on it. I said, okay, this is okay.
Even that intro.
What's a matter, baby? What's a matter?
Yeah, if anything, that's the worst song in her career. Yeah, I remember playing that for my friends, and when that song came out, I actually had to apologize to them for having to listen through that.
I know this is a whole different podcast, but I think I would take When I See You Again over Jane any freaking day. The Forgotten Chimpanzee.
Oh, speaking of Jane, she just passed.
Yeah, rest in peace, the Forgotten Chimpanzee. But even that intro of Welcome to Room Sarah, it's like, ooh, it's such a Natalie Merchant would do that.
It is, yeah.
That's probably why I like it. The whole thing, yeah. Anyway, back to Born Enchanter.
All right, sidebar though, if I ever do a 10,000 Maniacs Natalie Merchant series, was there any interest?
I actually met her briefly at an anti-fracking protest.
Or as she goes by in her liner notes, Miss Merchant. Refers to herself as Miss Merchant. Okay, back to Fleetwood Mac. I just spit because I'm so
upset. The answer is yes, though.
Okay. I freaking love Natalie Merchant. Love her. I love every one of her albums.
I thought you were going to say Safe Harbor.
Yeah.
I love Safe Harbor.
I love Safe Harbor. There's one lyric. Okay. It started with Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac. This is the end of a freaking era, man.
Yeah.
Like,
it is.
It's the last. It's like we had Danny's Chant, Sunny Side of Heaven, Earl Grey, or whatever that instrumental is. Underway, like, and now Safe Heart. What's the Caught in the Rain?
Yep.
And it all wraps up with Safe Harbor. I don't know what the hell Bob Welch is saying. I have no idea. Does anyone know what those last two lyrics are?
He's just find a safe harbor and a friend to talk with. I think.
Yeah. And
that's
talk with a friend.
And they did in a Mexican restaurant 2 months later.
He did?
Yeah, didn't Stevie and Lindsay?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They went to the Mexican restaurant, and the rest is history. So, what do you guys think of this instrumental? Go ahead, Jim.
I wish they had security cameras at that Mexican restaurant back in the day. That'd been some good footage.
Stevie's like, I'll take another marg.
The Stevie came in a work outfit. That would have been hilarious. It would have been hilarious.
Any thoughts on this? I don't have much to say about this. I mean, it's
I
end of an era.
never liked it. I always thought that it was just it paled in comparison to the distinction of Danny Kerwin's instrumentals.
Oh, for real.
It doesn't. I mean, Danny Kerwin's instrumentals are amazing. This one just struck me as kind
of a
at the
throwaway.
same time, when it's on, I don't turn it off.
Yeah, I think it's pleasant enough. It feels like a B-side off the Beach Bare Trees or maybe Future Games album. So I get what you're saying. Yeah, I think I'd like Danny's instrumentals a little better too, but it's not the worst piece in the world. I mean, you know, it is the end of an era, and I think because it's the last song, and you know, with the history of us listening to this album, you kind of go, oh, you know, and the next song is what? Say You Love Me, after
Monday Morning.
Monday Morning.
Wow.
Sorry, thank you. That's side two. Yeah.
Yeah, look at the contrast. Yeah, look at the contrast.
It's like it's an end of an era, and then your next song is Monday Morning in Warm Ways.
Yeah, Warm Ways. Yep.
It's like, whoa. So I give it a thumbs up, but you know, it's like it's kind of abbreviated. It's like
2 minutes and 39 seconds.
Yeah, mostly it just oscillates between a couple of chords, and based on what Bob was talking about in the Q&A, it wasn't haphazardly thrown together, but he was just leading the band through chords, like play a G sharp or play G minor here as opposed to G major. And then went on the record, threw on some vocals. That was it. I'm pretty sure there have been a couple of Fleetwood Mac documentaries that have used this song, kind of underlaying it or overlaying it.
The Christine documentary.
Yeah, the Christine documentary, maybe Rock Family Trees, that one in the mid 90s when they brought back Bob Welch, Bob Weston to talk about their time, Clifford Davis as well. And I think Jim Ladd also, for some of his radio interviews, at least one of them, I recall him using this for the intro.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We call it Play It Safe. Yeah. Play It Safe Harbor.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, it works well in that context. It's not really obtrusive whatsoever. If you want to, you can't really do any other song other than an instrumental when you're introducing a band or anything along those lines. Sure, maybe Earl Grey would have worked well, or Caught in the Rain, but it's a fine song. One of his least memorable, I would say.
How's it doing on tracks. Spotify? How does Spotify?
I don't remember. It's probably down there as one of the lowest number of plays, I would say. I would need to confirm though.
It's right down there. What's that spoken word Mick Fleetwood one at the end of Time?
These strange times.
Does it have less plays than the These Strange Times COVID re-record?
Oh my god, that's horrible.
I mean, that was quite an interesting track, but on the Time
That's one
album,
word for it. That's one word for it.
I Do is actually far and away the most popular track on Spotify, in that it has 10 million plays. I think it has more plays than some of their actual hit singles.
I Do was the only song that was issued as a single.
Yeah, it was. Did relatively well in Canada, got some airplay in Europe, but 10 million plays, it's just shocking. I'm pretty sure songs like Oh Diane, Hold Me, they're around 11 million or so. Shit. So it's right up there.
I was such a bitch. I'm like, I'm not listening to Time. But that podcast where we listened to it live for the first time and had a reaction. That was one of my best memories of this podcast.
I like Time. I like Time.
Worst album. Sorry, hate it.
I hate it. I don't like Time at all.
Give me
Christine
Becca
has maybe
Bramlett.
3 good songs on it, and then the rest of it's filler.
See, I love Time except for Dave Mason's tunes.
Oh, Dave. What's that one? Blow, Bob, blow.
I like the opening track of Time.
Yes.
I think it's and then Christine comes in like
Hollywood, Some Strange Town or something like that, or some sort of town.
I love that tune.
And then Christine's songs, her keyboards on Behind and Time are so cheesy. I can't stand them.
No, that's the problem. Is that
you have the Doogie
songs
Howser.
are great, but those tinny keyboards. That's why I think my favorite tune of hers on that is Sooner or Later, where she doesn't use the tinny keyboards.
Yeah, that's a great tune. I love that.
What's
tune.
that? Nights in Estoril.
Nice and Estoril.
All right.
That's a great tune, yeah.
Well, of course, on the box set, you can get the live album. If you want one last hoorah, this was December 15th, did somebody say?
I still have.
It was recorded then, yeah.
Jim, you're just going to have to wait a minute.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just messing with you, dude. Go ahead.
Okay, Safe Harbor. I'm very sure I heard part of this during the credits of a nature fishing show about the time the album came out. I'm very sure of this. You know, it's a very pleasant little rumbling. You know, the guitar work and let's see, very calming and relaxing. Very much like Albatross. I kind of compare. Quite, you know, it's shorter and not.
I feel it's like the team. It's like Timu Albatross.
Okay, yeah, okay, you got that. Okay, but you know, it's a nice little pleasant kind of finish this out.
Jim, we're wrapping up. I had to mess with you one last time.
Okay, well, we'll be back within the month.
Yeah, that's true.
Blues go.
Any other thoughts? I apologize, you guys, if I don't want to skip anybody. Is there any other thoughts on Play It Safe Harbor?
No, but I'm all set with that. We could talk about the band's legacy at this point, and Bob's for that matter. I'll just quickly go over some of my thoughts. So I mentioned this earlier, in that oftentimes for the musician's final album with Fleetwood Mac, they have a huge impact in terms of the writing credits. That was the case with Danny Kerwin getting more or less half the album on Fair Trees. Even before that, Peter Green getting more or less the same number on Then Play On. Jeremy Spencer was very prominent on Kiln House.
Dave Walker on Penguin.
Oh, yeah, of course. That's the one that comes to mind. And then Lindsay with Tango in the Night. True. They have one big final hurrah, like a bunch of offerings before they depart from the band. And I think that while I do find some songs on here to be questionable, to put it lightly, I think that this is a great way for Bob to conclude his time with Fleetwood Mac. And he had mentioned that around this point, he was really feeling the fatigue associated with being in the band, not making a whole lot of progress. I mean, I would personally be thrilled if I had an album reach number 34 on the Billboard 200 charts, but I'm pretty sure that Bob had a lot of high hopes for this. They were in LA, a big studio. They had access to a bunch of session musicians. They had Sneaky Pete playing pedal steel, who had worked with Flying Burrito Brothers, also
Joni Mitchell.
Artists. Joni Mitchell too.
Played on Blue.
They had horns, they had strings, they had all of the gloss on the tracks, but they weren't able to bring home the bacon on this album. They had to wait only a few more months for that to occur.
Right.
But Bob, at the end of the day, was able to achieve some chart success in his own right as a solo artist. So it wasn't all that bad, but unfortunately, he did go downhill quite a bit in that. I think he developed a heroin addiction around the mid 1980s, and he was hanging around a lot of the guys with Guns N' Roses too.
Bob Welsh and Friends. That I need to watch that again. Stevie's in there. They do a Bang and Gold Dust Woman.
Oh, I love that rendition.
Bob looked pretty. He looked gaunt and pretty sick looking. Like he's got problems. Something, you know.
He was just one of those people. He was a very good songwriter.
Yeah.
He was a very good player, guitar player.
Oh
He
yeah.
couldn't sing very well, and he didn't really have much charisma.
Right.
I
He wasn't
mean,
a front man.
no, he didn't have the kind of charisma that they needed, and or that he needed for that matter. One of the most awkward things I've ever seen in my life was his video for "I'll Dance Alone" from the 1980s. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, it's painful. If you just type in Bob Welch, it was a music video. It was his last music video before he got dropped by the label. It is one of the most painful things I've ever seen in my life. Um, and he's wearing a wig in it, and it's just that the whole thing is just, it's just really, really kind of awkward. And I think that Bob was just one of those people who was not meant for that kind of didn't have that
MTV
kind of
glamour, right?
personality for that kind of massive stardom. I mean, watch it. Did you ever see that him doing the show that huge Cal
Cal
Rock
Jam.
thing, whatever it was called,
Cal Jam.
Cal Jam, and
And
he's there and he's trying to dance on stage, and he
yeah.
looks just really awkward. And I'm just thinking, he was meant to be an exquisite
Mhm.
sideman. You know, I mean, he was meant to be like one of a focal points, but not the focal point. And I just think that you had mentioned, Nick, that all of these guitarists, they had one last album where they really pushed it and then they left. I think it's because Fleetwood Mac historically has exhausted their guitarists.
Yeah.
Mm.
They've put them into positions where they've exhausted them.
So what's more?
I
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say that I think that part of the problem was, and I think there's some Pink Floyd here, especially on side one. There's some Pink Floyd sort of influence on here, and I think Dark Side of the Moon actually came out in the year before this album, and I think they had a problem like Rush, where the record companies were getting sick of them not having any hits, any radio hits. Because they couldn't break the plus Rush would tour 250 days out of the year. Fleetwood Mac did not, especially with this lawsuit. They weren't playing as much. So, to crack a radio hit and not to put an album like this out, not tour, and then of course they're going to lose money. Of course, no one's going to know who they are anymore. They're fading, and it's too bad that one of these songs couldn't have been put, like Jim said, more for radio format. Because they might have catapulted into like Rush did. Rush got better each album because they started getting radio hits.
Right.
Well, Stevie and Lizzie joined, and it was all pop now, and so it's good in a way that this album didn't take off, because we wouldn't have gotten Fleetwood Mac all the way to 2025, where Stevie's still touring, but. At the same time, it's it kind of does hit a dead end, because Bob is not a front man and he does not sing very well. And he's being displayed as the front man on this album.
Yeah. He's forced into that position.
What's more uncomfortable to witness, the Bob Welch video or the Street Angel photo shoot?
The Bob Welch video.
Really?
You've got to watch that I'll Dance Alone. It is one of the most painful things. It's so bad I go back to watching it frequently.
No.
I mean, it's just because I can't believe I'm watching. I can't believe what I'm seeing.
So the live album is December 15th, and only 15 days later from that album is when they would meet Stevie and Lindsay and go to the Mexican restaurant, correct?
It's crazy too, because you listen to that live album and it's so sophisticated and so hot. I mean, it's really, they do such a good job with it. But then, you could see that they didn't really have much confidence in themselves. So many of the songs are Peter Green's.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just like, why spend all that time on Rattlesnake Shake? It's like.
They could have done like Future Games and some of Danny's stuff.
Well,
nothing from Danny.
They could have done even they could have had a few more Christine tunes in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob was very much at the forefront there, and they do have a bit of a history of underutilizing members. For example, the Fleetwood Mac tour, and even the Fleetwood Mac album, it just occurred to me recently that Stevie is only singing on 2 of those songs, and she just pretty much fades into the background. And then for the live shows, she only had Rhiannon, she had Landslide, and she didn't cover any of Bob's songs. That was all Lindsay. Lindsay did all of the covers of, well, not covers, but like Tell Me All the Things You Do, Rattlesnake Shake, Oh Well, in addition to his existing material. Then
Right.
Christine, of course, had a lot. And Stevie was just dancing around on stage. And
Now
we have an example here of Christine McVie kind of being relegated to just providing instrumental support. And she did a splendid job at that, but she wasn't really seen as the front person, even really ever in the band's career, other than perhaps I would say during the Behind the Mask era, where they were heavily relying on her singles to get radio play.
Right.
Now Stevie's sang on Green Manalishi that.
That is true, yes, but not lead.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah, not detracting from her talent, especially during that era. It's just that she was underutilized.
I mean, it was that sort of concept and that type of thing was like really foreign to her, probably, when they say, you can try this. And she pulls it off relatively. Someone that's not a star, not kind of innocent person at that time, and doing a very dark Peter Green type vocal there.
She's like, I only got two songs, so I'm doing Rhiannon for 12 minutes.
If you watch her in that Maryland show where they've got the recording of that, she's only has two songs that she's doing, but a solo, but she's all over the microphone on the other songs.
Dancing around on Over My Head doing those harmony vocals. She does a great job.
She's all over the microphone on like Station Man.
Right.
She's all over the microphone on
Why.
She's all over the microphone on Don't Let Me Down Again.
Oh, that
World Turning too.
Yes, I mean she's there in the camera, even when she's not singing. The camera's all over her.
Yeah, always.
She's magnetic.
That couplet of the three on Why, like at the end, that is just so perfect.
That's in my top 10 favorite Fleetwood Mac moments.
That's why they just blew up. That kind of stuff, just being a great live act, and just the three of them singing. That's you got a great band, you got a great guitarist, a great drummer, and a great bass player, and a great keyboard, and you got three great vocalists. And I don't think there's been a band really since like that.
Well, my ass is getting tired, and I still have about 2 hours of work if I can get this online tonight. If I don't do it tonight, I'll never get it done. Like I have to do them the same night because tomorrow's a whole nother day of whole other things to do. Heroes are hard to find. Scale of 1 to 10. We are wrapping up this middle era. We have one more episode where we're going to go back and do the Chicago album just to be completists and tie a bow on the Fleetwood Mac podcast series. But heroes are hard to find. Jim Miller, you've been rating them since the beginning. What do you give this one?
8.8.
8.8. All right, Nick.
I'm giving this an 8.5. I think that Bob Welch certainly served his purpose in the band, and he had a lot of identifiable material. He also left at the right time and was able to pave the way for even greater success. And then I think his reason to leave, I mean, it feels bad to say this, but the reason that he left is that that's pretty much why we're talking about the band now, because of Stevie and Lindsey. But it should be recognized that Bob's material here is perfectly fine, and if anything, some of their best during this era. And I feel like that we've been kind of bashing him as a weak singer, and to a certain extent, he wasn't the strongest singer, but his songwriting, the vibe that he brought to the band, couldn't really be replaced. He had such a unique presence, and I loved his time during Fleetwood Mac, and his tenure from Future Games to Heroes Are Hard to Find, probably my favorite stretch right there, and Bob contributes to that heavily.
And I love the fact that he's wearing a Fleetwood Mac shirt on the back cover.
Yes, exactly.
All right, well, Tony, heroes are hard to find.
In terms of the band rankings, like among the band stuff, probably about a 7. And then in terms of like how this album stands up against other bands, I'd probably give it a 6.
Oh, all right, John.
Wow. You might want to mute this because I'm about to swear at Tony. I give it a 9. I give it like an A-, which is like a 9.2. I love this album. I love Bob. I'm a Bob Welch fan. I do knock him. I do knock his singing, but I mean, none of these guys have ever been, including the ladies, are pure singers. Really, Stevie's not a pure singer. Lindsey's not a pure singer. Becca Bramlett was a pure singer.
Sure.
Bob Welch, obviously not. Danny had a nice voice, but
Lindsay can sing it.
like Nick nails it when he says that Bob he had a spot in this history where it was a vibe, and the Bob vibe was really cool. A lot of good material came out of it. As an album, Tony knows I love this album. It's one of my favorites. So I'm glad it's his last one. Like I said, I'm glad, if it was more successful, they might not have had Stevie and Lindsay.
Right.
So, if this is his exclamation point at the end of a sentence, he did a really good job.
I agree.
So I feel like, you have the classic run of albums, the White Album, Rumors, Tusk, Mirage, Tango in the Night. But the one that's always been closer to my heart is from maybe Then Play On, Kiln House, Future Games, Bear Trees, Penguin, Mystery to Me, then Heroes of Heart. Like, what a run of just interesting albums. And I could even leave off Kiln House and Then Play On. Really, like, Future Games through Heroes is where my heart really lies. Like, I love this stretch of albums. I've probably pulled out Heroes Are Hard to Find maybe more than Mirage. I wouldn't say more than like Tango or Rumors, but like this is an album I love. The horns on Heroes Are Hard to Find. I'm giving this a 9. I just think
Nice.
maybe there's a couple things that are like, safe harbor or whatever. But I love the pop. They just tried a bunch of different shit. They have all the weird stuff up front. They're fading in. They're doing weird stuff. We wouldn't have the White Album without Heroes Are Hard to Find. And for that, I just got to give it a 9. So, damn, man, I'm so depressed that we went through all these albums. These are some of my favorite albums of all time. Well, there's never anything like the magic of these weird middle Fleetwood Mac albums. And we have one more episode. We're going to be doing the Chicago one just to put the feather on the cap. But does anyone have any final thoughts on this middle era here? Tony and John, I'm so glad that you guys joined for this series. And of course, Jim and Nick, I always love having you guys on. This has just been a highlight of my life.
Yes, I love revisiting this era. And, you just kind of find things that you haven't found before. And I'm going to be playing these records into the future quite a bit, off and on. But, I would pull like Station Man, I would pull that out when I need just something to listen to. But there's a lot more material than that. Just a wide range of creativity in this era.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a very pleasant surprise when I discovered that this era existed. I just knew them originally from the 5 classic albums, if you will, from the Way album to Tango in the Night.
Right.
And I was just completely blown away by the fact that there were even any other members before Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks. It was just almost inconceivable to me. But I just kept digging and digging, and I was like, wow, this song is good. And then the next song would come on, and I would think, well, how come more people aren't listening to this material? This is just as good, and in some cases even better, especially with Christy McVie's songs, Danny's, Peter's, Bob's, even Bob Weston, his guitar playing on not a lot of them because he only played on 2 albums, but on Penguin and Mystery to Me, his playing holds up incredibly well. He was pretty much a session musician, did a lot of bands within like the beat scene. I think that there's a lot to explore and a lot to really discover with early Fleetwood Mac, and I would heavily recommend anyone who hasn't listened to it to give it a chance, because you'll find at least a couple of tracks that do align with your sensibilities.
And they came out with this compilation a year or 2 ago.
Oh
It's
yeah, it
like
makes
some
no
of the songs.
sense.
Yeah,
It
it's a
makes no
weird
sense.
compilation. Starts with Oh Well and ends with Prove Your Love.
I gotta say though, I will say this because this is the last of this era kind of thing, and that is, Jeremy, thank you so much for doing these because you're wonderful. But also, I've always just, when I was a kid, I knew I was weird for liking this era of the band. And I was like, who are the other weirdos in the world that like this? And
Here
so
we
to
are.
be in a room with 4 other guys, and yeah, I mean to be in a room with 4 other people who are just absolutely complete dorks about this area like I am, I say I salute you.
Welcome to the room, Tony.
Welcome to the room, Tony. Yes.
All right.
It's great.
Well, I'm going to get this online tonight, and I'm excited that we have one more meeting. And of course, we have solo albums. I'm going to keep this every season I do. We can revisit. There's things to revisit, including The Visitor. We will do The Visitor.
Ooh, I like that one.
Visitor, I love The Visitor.
Good
All right,
album.
my friends. Well, I will see you in a couple of weeks. Get listening to that blues jam at Chess.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
Adios.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.